highly emotional, makes them more emotional salespeople, which means they can sell, etc. That you know, this is an emotional thing. Life insurance is an emotional sale. It's not always logical.
Every sell is almost. I run my own business too.
Right.
And I found out, I've been reading a lot. The sell is on the emotion.
Yeah.
It's never the product. It's always the emotion.
Right. Now there is a category of people that are sold on logic, and those are analytics. They tend to be accountants, actuaries, you know, people like that are very organized thinkers. And a little secret about when you get into one of those, okay, they'll start asking you questions. They can wear you out. Do not let it wear you out. Because as long as they're asking questions they have bought, it's now just when they get to it, okay? Now, you know, and you may think, they will never buy. They always come back and ask one more question, and then there's one more question after that, and then there's one more question after that, and there's one more question after that. They need information, and none of the information is good or bad. It is just information.
Yes.
There's no emotion attached to it whatsoever. When they feel comfortable that they have enough information, they buy it, okay? So hang in there. Do not give up when you get to an analytic. Okay?
Well, the analytic, they're just sniffing out the validity of the product because they understand the finance side of it.
Well, yes, but that's one side. Because there are ones that, you know, it's not validity of the product, it's the validity of everything involved. And they want to know everything about it.
Yeah.
And once they get enough information, they will buy.
Because I was the same way.
Yeah, you just cannot, you can't. But here's the thing. Because women are more emotional, okay, this is just an observation, and I'm not saying it's bad, but because women are more emotional, when you work as hard as a man, you exceed what a man can do, but you are prone to emotional dives, okay? It's going to happen, you know. And when that emotional dive happens, you have to work through it. You cannot stop because you have the emotional dive, okay? Men, on the other hand, will have emotional dives. We have emotions too. But our daddies told us never to show it. You know, and women are taught to trust your feelings. That's what, you know. And so, believe me, there's pluses and minuses to each side of it, but if a woman works as hard as a man does, they will exceed what the man does. Okay. So,
question analytical. Are they also just testing your knowledge of what you bring?
No, actually, typically not. They're not testing your knowledge. They're testing the knowledge.
Yeah.
Right. So they don't take it. You know, if you say it's okay to tell them, I don't know, let me find out, and you get back to them with the information, they never have a problem with that.
They just want to know more.
They just want to know more. And it just there's a tipping point someplace where you get as much information as you need, and then, but as long as they're asking questions,
you're in a good place.
You're in a good place, you know.
I read every fine print of the law before
Yeah,
I even
yeah.
bothered.
So,
Like, I'd ask, can you show me where it is? Show me where it's backed up.
yeah.
You know, how does S&P 500? I like, so how does S&P 500 work? Show me how are you making money off that?
Yeah.
You know, and if you can't answer it,
Oh, which
then
reminds me.
that's like, well, you know.
Just my short story about analytical people. When I first came out of college, I had a job as a car salesman, and my first customer was a CPA. He was my first customer and my last customer, because my first customer, he was the first one that came to me, or that I went to when he was walking, but he never brought. I was only a car salesman for like 6 months, so he kept on coming back. He was analyzing this car and this car and this car, but he kept on coming back, but he never purchased until like 6 months later, and then he came in and said, "Okay, I'm ready to buy."
I'm ready to buy. Yep, and it's done. You know.
People who are very analytical, there's no motion behind that money. They actually literally train themselves to take the emotion out of money.
They don't even have to train themselves. It comes naturally.
Well,
I mean, a lot of people. I mean, I know. I had a friend of mine who was an actuary.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, he was just as straight as good. But he'd tell actuary jokes. He said, accountants are people who wanted to be actuaries but didn't have the personality for it.
No.
or there are 3 kinds of actuaries in the world: those that can count and those that can't. All right, because you brought up about how the interest crediting works in an IUL. I'm going to do it from the perspective of an indexed annuity. Okay, the expansion is greater in a IUL, but this is how they do it. Okay, let's take a block of money. Let's call it $1 million. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
The insurance company has $1 million. They put it in their general account, okay, which is their bond portfolio. May have a few preferred stocks in it. It has maybe a few small percentage of common stocks. Maybe it has some real estate in it. But they put it in their general account. Their general account, say, it earns 4% interest, okay? So 4% interest would earn $40,000, okay, over the year. They take that $40,000 and what they do is they buy options on the S&P with the general account money. So the principal is still invested in the same place. It doesn't change that at all. But this has options. So when the S&P goes up, okay, the options become worth more and they credit that to the contract.
So you're talking about the index annuities right now,
This is
right?
index annuities.
Okay,
It
so
works, the
you
same
have,
concept works
so I
how
put
you
in
want
I put in $1 million, right? I got
Uh-huh.
40,000, 4%,
Mhm.
and then they buy the options.
They buy the options with
Okay.
it, with the 40,000.
Okay, what are the options? What do you mean by options? Is it a derivative?
It's a derivative. This is
Okay.
the original derivatives.
Okay.
An option on the S&P 500. So let's say the S&P 500 is at $2,200.
Okay,
Is
hold
it
on, hold on,
2,200
hold on,
today?
hold on.
They'll buy an option that says I can buy the S&P 500 at 2,200 1 year from today, you know, and if the S&P is worth 2,400 a year from today, or 10% up, the value of this goes up.
They're just hedging. They're just,
It's a hedging,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if if it goes a year from now, if it's less than 2,200, that option is worth nothing. Okay, so it expires. Okay, worthless. Okay, so that's generally how the concept works on indexed annuities. Now, indexed life is a little different story, and here's the reason it's a different story. The portfolio is invested differently. In an indexed annuity, the average maturity of the bond portfolio is 7.8 years. Okay? Which means they have securities ranging from 1 year out to 15 years or 20 years, but the average maturity is 7.8 years. And that's pretty true across all companies. They're all right in that 7.6 to 7.9 range. They call it 7.8 years. Okay? Well, because of the 7.8 year maturity, average maturity, they can't do more than 4%. Okay? They really can't return more than that. Okay? And there is a range of people dying and them having to have liquidity for that investment to pay that off. That's why the maturity date is at 7.8.
Sure.
Okay? They've got all the curves and figures out. You know, you've heard the difference about, you know, the difference between actuaries and the mafia. You know, see, actuaries can tell you how many people will die on a given day in 10 years. The mafia can give you their names. So, the jokes don't get any better, okay? But because life insurance only pays out on death typically, okay? We said the vast majority of payouts are on death. They know how many people are going to die 10 years and 1 day from today. They know how many are going to die in 20 years. They know how many. You take a big enough pool, the actuaries can tell you who's going to die and how much they're going to owe any given year. Life insurance does not tend to get cashed out early, and it's also bought on younger people than annuities are, and so the lifespans are longer, so they can stretch this portfolio out for their life insurance. They push their portfolio out to 15 plus years on average maturity, and instead of earning 4% on it, they'll earn 7% on it, because they also can include real estate in it. Okay, so they have more money to buy options with.
So your indexed annuity, even though it's based on S&P 500, is also based off real estate as well.
Well, it's no, it's the cash flow
Uh-huh.
that's available to buy options with
Okay.
is based on that. See, the 100,000 is, or the $1 million is still there.
Okay.
It's just the interest earnings on it. So I would bet that an insurance company owns this building. That's what they do. And they collect rents. I talked to an investment advisor from Mutual of Omaha one time. One of the guys, a portfolio manager. He goes, yeah, we buy some real estate. He goes, we don't touch it unless we can get a 15% return on it. Cash flow return. Okay.
See right there, see your argument right there, which was, I spoke about this maybe an hour ago. That is Sharia compliant.
Mm-hmm.
That is 100% Sharia compliant.
Okay.
You can't gamble with the money, it has to
Right.
produce a product.
Right.
So that's just very interesting you said that.
Yeah.
I'm glad
See,
you
so
said it.
that's how they do it. That's how they
Yeah.
get the returns. But they take that 7% then and they buy the options on the S&P, but because they have more money, they can give a bigger return on the cash value. That's how you can get caps at 13 and 14%, as opposed to the caps on an indexed annuity, which might be 6 or 5.5 or lower, which they were a couple of years ago. Yeah.
The index annuity is itself nowadays playing a very different word of really high return.
Mhm.
They have the aristocrat, the S&P 500, the
Mhm.
Dow Jones.
Right.
So those are playing in the game of.
I will say I have a bias on indexed annuities to any crediting option which is uncapped. Okay. I love Michael's explanation on the Anico product on the monthly, on the month to month,
Yeah.
you know, monthly average uncapped. It's a great explanation, and it does an excellent job of doing it and
Yeah, this
explaining
is
it to
100%
customers.
compliant.
But the goal behind an indexed annuity, and this is, I'll say this, an indexed annuity, for every 5 years that the S&P is up, which is 5 out of 7, it's up on average historically, 5 out of 7 years, 3 years, that gain exceeds 20%. Okay? So you want to have one that captures as much of that 20% as you can.
What do you mean?
So, an uncapped option.
Uncapped option.
Yeah.
So 5 out of 7 years up and 3 of the 7 years
3 of the
down.
5 are more than 20%.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have the aristocrats on the American equity side.
Mhm.
They take a
Oh, I see.
3% threshold.
Right.
So that's pretty attractive.
That is, yeah.
You know, on that case, you know,
Yeah.
the market performs.
Right. So, but what you want is when, you know, you're protected on the downside with an indexed annuity, but what you want is when you get a 20% plus year, you want to get as much of that as you possibly can. And that's what drags the average up over 10 years. Do not sell indexed annuities as if you get market-like performance without the risk, because that's not true. You don't, okay? But what you can do is control expectations, and over a 10-year period with an uncapped
Yeah.
option, you should expect 5 to 6% return.
Yep.
And ask them, would you be happy if you got 5 to 6% over the next 10 years? And they will be.
Yeah. Especially tax-free now.
Yeah. So,
Do you think it, at what age do you think you should sell an index annuity?
with retirement money, the number goes lower. With non-retirement money, 50 and above. 50 and above for non-retirement money. And the reason I say that is because when you're, you know, you got that 59 and a half hanging out there, okay? And when you're 50 years old, you can imagine leaving your money alone for 10 years.
Right.
Okay, when you're 30, you cannot imagine leaving it alone for 30. Okay, it just, you know, you just can't imagine that, you know. And they will dive into it sometime. So, but now retirement money is a different story because they already have the 59 and a half out there. They know that. They've been putting into 401k. They want to do a 401k rollover at age 32. It's okay to sell them an index annuity. That's fine. But non-qualified money, no. Another side note on that is sometime you will run into this where somebody comes into a chunk of money that they have never had before. You know, there's an injury settlement, they won a lottery, you know, something like that. And before you invest the money, find out about their finances. How they handled money before they got it.
Okay.
Okay? Because if somebody, you know, they will always say, I want to set aside some of this for my retirement. They get like $200,000 in a settlement, and they go, I want to set aside some of it for my retirement. And you say, well, you know, tell me about your finances before you got this money. And if they're bouncing checks, and they don't have, you know, a pot to pee in or a window to throw it out of, but now this is going to solve all their issues,
No.
no, it won't. They will invade that. It will be gone within a year.
So what will you give them?
I would say you need to put this money in a bank, and in a year we'll visit again.
So
And if they still have money in the bank, then you can invest some. But it's a chargeback waiting to happen. I mean, it's just like, You know, I've seen it happen too many times. People think it's an endless supply of money, and their brothers and their sisters and their old buddies from high school and all their other relatives show up, and they want to borrow some money from them for a business venture that they've got. It is gone, you know. So don't do it. Don't invest it. Tell them they need to set it aside. But now, if they've been pretty good about handling their money, their bills are paid, they've got a little bit of a cushion, okay. You know, let's make sure that your cushion is 6 months of expenses. Let's make sure you have some money set aside for planned purchases. Go down and buy a 1-year CD. If you're going to buy a house in a year, you know, put that money in a CD for a year, you know, and let's invest the difference. Okay. I just have, you know, I've just seen it happen too many times. People come, you know, they start, first thing is, oh, I just need to take that 10% free out. 2 months later. 2 months after that, they go, well, I really need some more money. And you go, well, it's got a big penalty. Well, I really need the money, so we'll pay the penalty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the next thing you know, it is gone, you know. And I've seen it happen too many times.
How much is my retirement now?
Yeah. So, people, I had a boss one time who told me something very wise, and I've remembered it. This is more than 30 years ago, he told me. And so it's before lotteries even. And he said, if a man acquires money before he acquires character, he will lose it every time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You think about all the
Wise.
athletes who get multi-million-dollar contracts, and when they finally retire, they are flat broke. And you go,
Yeah.
how do you go through that much money? You know. The first one I heard about was Jack Clark, and I don't know if you guys remember Jack Clark. He was the first baseman, played for the Giants first, and then the Cardinals. Jack Clark, when he retired, he declared bankruptcy. Made $2-3 million a year back in the 80s, but declared bankruptcy because he built a barn, a big shed out behind his house, and kept acquiring vintage automobiles. And he borrowed money and borrowed money and borrowed money to do it. And then when he finally retired, he had no more income to pay those loans, and it was gone. Now, and there's athletes from every sport that we've seen that happening, you know. But they acquired money before they acquired character, you know. So, you know. In Kansas City, we had Derek Thomas, one of the 100 greatest players in NFL history, okay. Beloved in Kansas City. I mean, absolutely beloved. He was killed in a car accident, okay. And he had 8 children from 6 different moms, okay. And they sold his house and they auctioned off all the stuff inside it. And each of the kids got about $40,000. That was it. He had no money. They auctioned off all the stuff inside his house, and they found a check stub from Andre Rison, if you remember Andre Bad Moon Rison, who played for the Chiefs for a while.
And his house burned down.
Yeah, his girlfriend burned his house down. But Andre, this was in Atlanta when that happened. She was pissed. Yeah, but
And she died.
Rison played for the Chiefs, but his banking was so bad he could not get a bank account, and so he'd endorse his checks over to Derek Thomas to take to the bank in cash. Okay. These are people who acquired money before they acquired character, you know. So, you will run into this sometime in your career, where somebody comes into a chunk of money that they think this is an endless supply. It is not. And they will waste it within 18 months. And if you sell them something, you're getting hit with a big charge back. So,
Big charge.
I've been in this business long enough to see it lots of times. Don't do it. So, but if they leave it sit for a year, then they've acquired some character in the meantime. Okay. Any more questions? I'm open for business.
Is that helping you guys?
Really good.
Good.
Good information.
That's really good.
Good.
Okay, everybody, you ready for Vegas?
Yes.
I'm not, but I will be.
I'm not what you will be.
Well, and all that means is that I haven't
That
made
is
my
when I
plane
free tickets.
reservation
just-
yet, that's what.
I'm just mad because, I got my plane reservation, I'm just mad because I'm not walking across the state getting my $100,000 rent.
Ooh.
Well, hopefully this time it will bring the launch, of the stuff.
Yes.
Okay, you guys, I appreciate you guys, so, here's the deal, I was just looking at the numbers, on our team. Within the last 2 months, we have people on our team coming out from nowhere, are hitting it. As of right now, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, possibly 9 of you guys are on your way to be in the competition, for Dream Destination. 9 couples, that means basically 18 all folks, so that's just from one category.
Where's Dream Destination this next year?
Let's couple.
Okay, all paid expense. Now, here's the deal, the game is still on, so you guys have a good shot at winning and playing this thing, you know? But I do know that, get ready, get your feet on and all that. This Sunday, I'm going to an event in Maryland from 4 to 7 o'clock. They've got some kind of, church, events, some women nonprofit companies are doing this, event. For those of you, I think it costs like $30, but they can have people there.
Sunday,
This Sunday from 4 to 7 p.m.
where's it at?
I have the location address for those of you guys who's interested in going. The cost for the thing is $30. I guess they're doing. I guess I'm being recognized there as women's some kind of awards. But there'll be people
Send
there.
out the address?
Yes, I'll give you the address right now, so, but
What's the address?
you can't go there unless you register ahead, so for those of you guys who's interested in going, let me know. The address is, you ready?
Maryland.
Yes, Maryland. Oh, is it on Saturday or Sunday? Oh, no, Saturday, you got, I lied. From 4 to 7 p.m., the address is, shoot, I'm gonna email it to you guys, I know it's in college, let me email it to you,
College Park?
yeah. So, who's interested in going to the, I'll email those soon as you go, both of you guys?
Sunday I was gonna go, Saturday I gotta go.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I'll email you
I
guys.
had a stack of them and then I think I gave out a bunch. If not, you'll be in Vegas, right?